I always do something which will take me out of that working class.
You wanted to become self-unemployed?
Even if I do a buy-to-let here, I can kind of pay the interest and then still have some money for me. I was in a different visa status. There was only very few lenders who were ready to do that. So I kind of started Googling about all those things, like started learning about, okay, what else I can do in property, okay. If I have to be in that business, is that what I want to do?
Hello and welcome to the Self-Unemployed Podcast, where we talk about the journey to financial independence and becoming self-unemployed. My guest today is somebody who is doing that, doing a very good job of it. He's known as the HMO King, Mr. Samuel Johnson. Welcome to the show.
Hello, nice. Hi, Kellen. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
So as I said, you're known as the HMO King. Tell us a little bit about what you do. What is an HMO and what do you do?
Hey, HMO is, so Rent-to-HMO is my specialty. So that's what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years. So that's been my strategy from day one, which I started. So HMO is where is housed in multiple occupation, where occupancy, you can call it, but where you have a 6-bed or a 7-bed or 5-bed, where you have individuals sharing the communal spaces, sometimes sharing the washrooms as well. So they kind of can be working professionals, they can be students, they can be anyone who just generally kind of want to stay together. That's generally called as an HMO. Every council has its own regulations, whereas 3 beds or 4 beds depends on that. But yeah, that's generally a HMO where people stay together.
Great. Yeah, so HMOs, I remember many years ago, they used to be known as bedsits.
Yeah.
Yes, HMOs, house of multiple occupancy.
Yeah.
So we're going to get a lot more into that. But first of all, tell me more about you, because you're obviously not from the UK.
No.
So tell us more about your background and what you did before and how you ended up in the UK. And
sure.
Let's talk about that.
Sure, Colin. So I've always been from India. So I'm basically from India, south part of India, Tamil Nadu. So that's where I've born, I'm brought up, I've studied my uni there. I did my engineering there. And then I started working in IT. So and been in IT for the last 11 years. I've been traveling around to different countries because of my work. I used to travel, and finally I ended up coming to UK for an IT job. That's what I came for. I came for an assignment which was very small, which was supposed to be a 2-month stay, but now ended up being 4.5 years. So yeah, it keeps on growing because in IT we just kind of take on projects and projects. So I ended up staying in the country for a long time. As I reached my 10 years in IT, I realized that I didn't want to do, of course, I didn't want to do for a long time. I always thought that I always wanted to do something for myself, something which keeps me going, something which keeps on kind of keeping me towards focusing on something else. IT is a job. I know that it cannot take anyone to a level where they want to go, personally and professionally as well, because as you go higher the ladder, the much tougher it gets. So I thought, of course, yes, but the barrier is still there. The middle class, or in India we call the middle class barrier, where you cannot reach a different threshold, or you're still in the working class. So I always want to do something which will take me out of that working class, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I just wanted to do something.
That's what you wanted to become self-unemployed. That's what this podcast is all about.
I just wanted to be employed, but for myself.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like a way. So I started small businesses in India. So even when I was working there, I even till date I still run that. So I have a small juice business which runs even now. It operates in India. We have three branches. Even now that's
okay.
I have
a small what business? Juice business?
Yeah, a juice stall. Kind of we call juice stalls. So we have three branches in India that I started. I was there long before, and that still operates even without me. So that I just do that one. And I also have a small IT development business, which we run within the family. That is also there, which takes care of itself because everyone in the family, my friends, everyone is from IT. So we had to have a business just to find some projects within us. So it ended up being we still have 6 employees employed in India. So we have our own IT kind of a hub there as well. And then once I came here, I thought it's not something which I want to do anymore. And then, of course.
So you're not you've quit IT yourself, apart from running or being a direct. Yeah. Do you still put much time into that company, or is it you more of a just a shareholder?
I'm more of a investor and just the brains of the business and mind of the business. Of course, I do. We build some websites to people whoever we ask here, people from the academy. I do that, but that's not something which I promote generally. It's just very niche where I do only for people who just kind of reach out to us. That's fully hands off for me because we have 6-7 employees, and then one of my friend is also the director of it, so he takes care of all those things. I'm just the brain and just taking it forward, because websites and things is not the major thing for us. We build apps and build larger websites for shipping companies and mining companies, and those type of things is what.
Oh wow!
So
okay,
websites is like just a side hustle kind of thing. But I've quit my job. I've quit my job almost 2 years now, close to 2 years now.
Okay, so let's talk about when you came to the UK. What was the job that you came here for?
I came here for one of the largest energy suppliers in the UK. So I've been as their solutions architect. So their IT systems and processes, building their systems and processes. So that's what I came for. I've been doing that for 4 years with them. And that's where I came to know about Samuel, and then all the property YouTubes, going through all these things. I was actually planning to buy something for myself. I was like, okay, if I'm staying long in the
country, to buy a house.
Yeah, to buy a house. But I've seen homes under the hammer, or I don't know how they call it in Australia. When I was traveling there, I saw that, and that really impressed me. So yeah, that's how I ended up in property.
So what, you saw homes under the hammer when you were in India?
No, we don't have that in India, to be honest.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay. But you saw it soon after you arrived.
Whenever I used to travel around, whenever I kind of always have this fascination of doing something to the house and making it like pop up.
Yeah.
Do some renovation.
Is that what sort of first gave you the idea then? Or was it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Because we cannot do that in India. Surprisingly, that's not in India
really?
at all. Yeah, we cannot do and increase the value of a property in India like that.
Let's talk about that then. That's interesting. Why can't you do that in India?
So in India, actually, the value of a property is depend on the ground rate. That's what we call it, a square feet rate. So that's what matters. And after 15 years, the value of the property actually depreciates.
Right. And so, is that value set by the government?
Yeah, the government, and then we have the additional. The government sets a limit, but it always sells above that limit, as you know. That's what happens. So, say for example, if you have a flat, you can call it as 1,000 square feet or 2,000 square feet flat, and there would be a defined price for it. Generally, the flat sometimes there is the ground which the flat sits on. If there is 10 people in the flat, they have a square feet for themselves. Like, say, for example, if it is 1,000 square feet and then there is 10 people there, it's like 10 square feet for each of them or 100 square feet for each of them, like that. So that's where the price depends on the square feet. And
so is it the square feet of the property or the square feet of the plot?
Square
is it the land?
Of the land.
So if you got 5 stories, they don't sell for more. It doesn't sell for more than if it was just a bungalow.
Generally, the value goes much, much higher. Over the years, they sell the flat as it is, but along with that, you just don't get the flat; you get the ground as well.
Yeah, or share like a share of it.
Like a share of the ground as well. So that's how it works out. Earlier, it was not the case where we have a ground and then we build a land. We have a land and then we build in it.
So it does go up in value.
Yeah, it
So
does
you
work.
could,
Yeah.
you could make money.
Yes, you could make money on it,
Yeah,
but not by
but generally speaking,
not by renovating
yeah,
interiors actually. So whatever we do in the UK now, so the structure is still there, and then when you put a new kitchen, the value goes up.
yeah.
Right. So even though the building is like almost 80 years old or 100 years old, if you put a new kitchen or something, the value goes up internally. But how much ever we do internal works, the value doesn't go that much in India.
Interesting. So any work you do is just a cost.
Yeah, it's just
and
a
not
cost.
you're not going to get any return
Yeah,
on it.
you're not gonna get any return after 15 years. After that's where the building starts depreciation. That's my mind. Even the family home, whichever we have now, even though the building is more than 20 years old, it's the values for the land, not for the building.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Very different system.
that's why when I came here and I saw this, it's completely different for me. The house is 50 years old or 100 years old, and then the value is still you're able to do some interior works to it, and then you're saying, oh no, it's valued more now.
So for you, this was like a whole new thing, right? This was like amazing. It was because it was a different system.
Yeah.
Where the idea of being able to make money by improving a property was
that is one of the things surprising. And then I didn't know that there are so many strategies as well.
Not many people. Most people don't. Most people don't. So we'll get into the strategies and the strategy you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you said you thought about buying a house when you saw Homes Under the Hammer and things, but then that's not what you've done. So why? Tell us about that, because I know a little bit about your story and it's very interesting, and that's something that I think people would like to hear about.
So I wanted to buy a house because as I was trying to stay for a long time, I thought, why not? Because I was seeing again the interest rates in India. Again, coming back to the interest rates in India is much, much higher. So earlier at that time, it was 8% and 9%.
Really?
And even if you buy a property in India and if you stay in it by paying interest, you're going to pay more interest than the rent. So if you're saying, okay, I want to buy a property and rent it out to someone else in India as a buy-to-let, your interest will not cover the entire mortgage even. So you will have to put money into the mortgage to cover your own mortgage. So that was the second thing which was surprising to me here, because that time when I was seeing the mortgage was only 2%. So now it has increased quite a bit. But that time when I'm saying, I can even if I do a buy-to-let here, I can kind of pay the interest and then still have some money for me. So that was something which was surprising. And I was renting at that time, and I was thinking, okay, so why not end up buying something where we would just put some money in and then go stay there and then pay the interest. So that was the idea behind starting it, and then starting about, okay, let's start buying some properties. And then just because of the location I'm in, or the budget which I wanted to buy in was not feasible for me in this place. So I was like, okay, started Googling about what are the other options we have. So so that's how I ended up searching about more things in property, like, okay, what else I can do.
Yeah, but didn't you tell me once that you also had some problems getting a mortgage because of your visa status?
Yeah, so because I was at that time working full time, and I was in a different what is it called, visa status, there was only very few lenders who were ready to do that. Of course, I'm not a British citizen, or I don't hold a UK passport. So in that case, I have to have only special conditions on my mortgage. So I have to have only very few lenders who are ready to do that. And the interest rate was, of course, slightly higher than the general providers. And the other rule at that time were like, we have to be in the country at least more than 3 years.
Right.
So there are certain rules around it for us. For me, I was unable to get. I could have got it, but it would have been slightly expensive to what the others usually get. So I didn't want to. I wasn't sure if I'm going to cross that barrier and stay for long here. So I was like, okay, let's hold on to it for some time until. So that's why I didn't go for it at that.
So then you said you you learned about some other strategies. So tell us about tell us how you came to learn about those strategies.
Yeah, so of course, as I said, I wanted to do something in property. So the only way everyone knew was like buying something or a flip or something. So because as I've seen Homes Under the Hammer or whatever you call it earlier, so that's what I've known about it. So I thought, okay, let me buy and see. And then I went
those TV shows they only ever really talk about flips.
Yeah.
The strategy that we would know as flips.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, the average person would probably think property investing is flips.
Yeah.
But actually, people who are really property investors, not many of them are really doing flips. Yeah.
So that's what I started searching about it, just saying, okay, what then somewhere I came about property strategies or something. Somewhere during Christmas time, I was here and I was like in like 2 weeks of holidays. We generally have privilege of working, so I kind of started Googling about all those things. Like started learning about what else I can do in property. Okay, if I have to be in that business, is that what I want to do? So this started off in November, even before I started anything else. So in November 2021, I believe, November 2021. So I started just Googling, going through things and learning about strategies. And I came across some of the podcasts which were there, just generally going through, hearing all those stories about people, learning about it. And then I went to a couple of courses, which is like the free courses, like the similar Samuel Leeds has £1 So I just go to some of the events simply just to hear about it, not to do anything. And that's how I kind of went through and said, oh, okay, there are so many strategies available. There are ways that I can make money without buying property, which is lease options, which they're controlling the properties. And then I came about rent-to-rents, which is like, how can you do, how can someone accept to give a property to someone? And then it was fascinating for me, and it was like a bit of a doubt as well, whether are these really possible? Because of course.
So hold on a sec. Remember, so not everyone watching it will be as familiar with all these strategies as we are. So you mentioned a couple there. Lease option. Just briefly, what is a lease option?
So lease option is like something which you agree to buy a property. It's like a rent to buy. So you agree to buy a property at a later date, agreeing on a price, saying that I'm going to buy the property at this price on this particular timeline, but until that, you will be renting it, or there would be an agreement with the landlord. You might be paying something in return for it. So it's like an option to buy at a later date, but not an obligation. So the term is the lease, which can be 5 years, it can be 7 years, it can be 10 years, it can be anything. But it's an option to buy the property at a defined price at a later date.
So, and it can be a really good way to get into property without putting a lot of money down.
Without putting a lot of money down. £1, or it's just in £1 is just the way to kind of do the contracts in it.
I think, legally speaking, a contract doesn't mean anything, or means a lot less if money hasn't actually changed hands. So having that one, that's why a lot of things happen. A lot of lease options happen for £1.
So it can be £1, or it can be just 5,000 or £1,000, or whichever. It doesn't need to be a specific amount, whichever you agree with the with the landlord.
Yeah, I'm currently trying to negotiate a lease option at the moment.
Oh, amazing! That's amazing.
Quite a big property.
I've been going back and forth with one of the landlords for quite a while, so it's been almost.
Oh right, okay, so that's good.
I'm like, okay, let's see how it. Sometimes you just have to leave it on the table and then leave it for time to happen.
So one of the landlords. So the next strategy you mentioned was rent to rent. Now this is what you are actually doing. So you are renting from some landlords. So tell us about that.
So rent to rent is basically you rent the property from a landlord. Generally, when you say rent, everybody thinks that's subletting. So I would say lease the property from the landlord and then rent it out to either a tenants or individual tenants. If it's a HMO, if it's just a family home, then you rent it out on a serviced accommodation basis. So you rent the property from a landlord, and you rent it back, not as a kind of another AST to AST or something, but you rent the property back to groups or individuals, and whatever you make profit, you collect the revenue from the persons, whoever you rented it out, and then pay the landlord a fixed fee every single month, and then you take care of the maintenance, and whatever comes between is your profit.
Your margin.
The margin.
Yeah. So there's a lot of confusion about the rent-to-rent strategy, or as you say, maybe it should be called lease to rent. Because a lot of people think it's illegal because you're subletting. Well, technically you are, but then technically there's nothing wrong with subletting unless it's specifically out. There's a rule against it in your contract, which in a standard AST contracts that you mentioned, subletting would not be allowed.
Exactly.
But the way you do rent to rent is you're not renting it from the landlord on a regular tenancy contract, AST contract. You'd have a different type of contract. So we talk about as a company let.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens is, like, every contract I have is basically you explain to the landlord or to the agency, whomever you're working with, clearly what you're going to do. So that they are aware that they don't have you on an AST, which is your assured short-hold tenancy agreement. So as long as you're not in a tenancy agreement, and then you rent that property to another tenant in a tenancy agreement, that's when it's called subletting. But if you are taking on the property on a company let agreement or a management agreement, and then when you rent your property to someone else on a tenancy agreement, then that's not subletting. So technically, that's what. So some people confuse it with saying that subletting, but you're not taking.
Well, hang on. You say it's not subletting, but isn't it technically it is subletting, but it's just allowed under that contract?
Exactly, it is allowed under the contract. Legally allows it. Landlord accepts it. The agency accepts it. You're being fair, open to them, saying that this is what you're going to do. So if the landlord is fine with it, if the agency or whomever you're working with is fine with it, then as long as the contracts are proper in what it has to be, then it's not illegal. So for me, that's what I feel.
No, that's absolutely right. It's does need some clarification because some people do get confused at it. Now, you meant, so a lot of people watching this might be thinking, well, why would a landlord do that? Why wouldn't they just rent it to people themselves? So what are the advantages for the landlord?
So it's really advantageous. It depends on the landlord, I would say. As the landlord has to be, so for anyone who wants to try and do rent to rent or something, it depends solely on the landlord. So as long as the landlord is not motivated to give it to someone else, then it would never happen. But what are the advantage for the landlord? So for example, the properties which I'm dealing with, right? Just to say an example, those are huge HMOs. So I don't say it's not possible in the small ones. It is possible in the small ones. Again, it depends on the landlord. But the property is huge, some of them, and it needs a bit of work. So what I do with mine is I do a free renovation, not renovation in the sense full renovation, but the minor touch-ups, lights, you put new paints, you just freshen up the property at my own cost. So the landlord doesn't pay for any cost involved in whatever renovations I'm doing. So the first thing is renovations. You get to freshen up the property. The landlord is not dealing with a group of tenants or any tenant which is not involved in the contract. So he deals with one person as a company. So I'm going to be paying him. Again, Section 24, as you said, we don't have like tenant rights or something. We don't, as a company, I don't have the tenant rights. The landlord wants to kick me out, they can kick me out very easily using the break clause. So that is another one. And again, we are going to guarantee the rent. Not guarantee, I cannot say guarantee the rent or something, but whatever rent we are agreeing to pay the landlord, I'm going to pay him every single month. Irrespective if the property is occupied, if the property is not occupied, that a traditional agency cannot do that or will not do that.
And you would have a sort of 3-year contract or
So 3 years,
Yeah. So
5 years contracts, depending on the length of each property or whichever the land.
yeah, whatever you agree. But
Whatever,
the
yeah.
advantage. So far the two advantages you've mentioned for the landlord is that you will renovate the property
Yeah.
to a small renovation,
Yeah.
a light
Small to big
renovation.
renovation as well. It depends on the size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they will get that guaranteed rent without having to worry about voids and things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if they've got a mortgage, it works well, because if they've got a mortgage that is a certain amount and they know that the rent covers it,
Yeah.
and gives that, it's that, when you have something on an AST and the tenant moves out, and then you've got a lot of extra costs for the agent getting a new tenant in, and you have maybe a few weeks of a void period. Yeah, so they don't have to deal with any of that. And you sort of mentioned, if you don't pay the rent, if a tenant doesn't pay the rent on a normal AST contract, it can be very, very difficult to
take them out,
to get them out.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you've got to pay all your your mortgage and things. Yeah. And then you can have a lot of legal costs. In worst cases, you can have a lot of legal costs.
And end of the time, if they don't pay, still you'll have to. But with the company, they can, because the contract clearly says, if I don't pay, I have to walk out.
Yeah. So with a company, a landlord, if they're, I don't want to say tenants because it's different to that, but if the company renting it doesn't pay, it's very easy to get to evict them. You can just sort of walk in and throw the stuff out.
But that generally doesn't happen. But sometimes it depends. Because that's the third thing, and also the fourth thing is the maintenance side of things. So the landlord doesn't get any calls. The landlord doesn't any maintenance issues which happens in the property up to a certain limit. Of course, there is a limit to it. Sometimes some people say £100 per £100 is what we written, 100 to 150 in the contract. But sometimes I make sure that if it is not covered in a year, I still end up doing things for the landlord. Because as long as we have taken the property from them, we don't want to keep going back to them asking for issues. So I keep £100 per month, but in a year, if it is not covered, I just still end up doing it. So it makes completely hands-off for the landlord. So that's one of the hands-off things for the landlord. And pretty much they don't have to deal with any of the tenants. They don't have to deal with any of the calls. Every single month, the payment just hits their bank on the same day, irrespective of whatever happens. Some of the landlords have never been into the property for the last 2 years. Of course, with mine, additionally, what I do is we do cleaning as well. So regular cleanings, keeping the property on top of everything, and just to make sure that it's nice and clean always. Of course, not every landlord or the landlord would want their property to be taken care of. So that's what we do. I kind of take care of the property, go do multiple checks on them. And we try and keep it any time as a show house. So any landlord at any time, if they want to go in, they just go in. They can go in if they want.
Right, if they want, but
if they want, but generally they never did.
So where is the margin coming from? So how are you able to rent it out for more money than what you're renting it from the landlord?
So the margin is coming actually from the negotiation. So because if you see my property, so as I specialize in rent-to-rent HMOs, so that's my specialty. So the margin generally comes in the negotiation and then increasing the value by renovating it and then giving what value addition you're doing to the property as well. So in a general HMO scenario, say a 6-bed, the landlord would want £500 each room. So that comes to £3,000 we have to pay to the landlord. But for me, I don't go for the best HMO. I go for the worst HMOs in the town. Or I go for the not so good one, or the one which needs some work, where I can see saying that I can do something about it if it is within my radar of where I want the properties. So I just go around, I do multiple viewings, I see which HMO would fit for me. Of course, we work with agencies as well, but if I see the property and I can see if something can be done with it, then I go and negotiate with the landlord on the rent, because as a landlord, they want to get something from the students. So generally what they do is they put £500 each room, so that it's a £3,000. So they would want a group of students to take the property. So the group of students generally would say, okay, 3,000, you take the property as it is. But if the property is not rented out to students, because of course, because if it is nights, it would have already been rented to students or any other people. If it is in not so good state, that's where it comes to me. So I go around, see the property, and then see how much calculations, renovations is required in it, and then you place an offer to the landlord. Of course, I would reduce, say, 2,000 or 1,500 or something. It starts based on the numbers and then work way up. But since I'm renting out to professionals, I would do it as an all bills included one. So all bills included might be 570, 575, the professional, or 600, depends on the size of the room. And then you increase the value by adding like providing additional services like Wi-Fi, TV, and all those things. So once the property is freshened up and nice, people are happy to rent it for a higher price. So you agree to landlord per room probably around 300 or 350 or 300, depends on the room, and then you will try and rent it out at 600. So your costs might be around 150. So your £100 might be your profit. 100 to 125 per room might be your profit. So the margin is from there of your negotiations as well.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, then you're finding properties where maybe the landlord's renting to students and the property's not in great condition. They're renting it out quite cheap. Maybe the landlord's getting a bit tired, would rather be more hands off. So you rent the property from them, and you increase the quality. So you raise the rental value basically, and then target a different market in order to achieve that higher rent.
Yeah. Because most of the HMOs have been student HMOs for quite a while, number of years. So the landlords might have been, say, some of the landlords which I work with, they're like above their 70s and closer to their 80s. So they're not still able to come back to the property and then do the works themselves, get into the contractors and start doing them. Probably their kids are not here. They kind of moved around for work and something. So they just want someone to take care of it and then leave them alone with less with less problems. So when I come inside, so they're happy to see the after. So whenever I show them the after pictures, they're like, wow, is this my property? You've done it really well. So some of them need a really nice paints, white, like all kind of freshening up is what is pretty much required on them. And if they're not spending money on it, why not? They're happy with it. So one of my landlords actually ended up revaluing his property after I did the renovations for him.
Oh, really? So when you get to the end of the contract with him, is there a chance he might say, actually, I want to sell it now that you've raised the value?
Yeah, that's the options whichever I placed with all the landlords. So the lease options is not something we just go straight away from my point of view. So I've just rented it from all the landlords. Of course, all of them are tired landlords. All of them are in their later, not in their young age, so that they can go and do some renovation. So they're happy when they see me taking care of it. So they will be happy to sell it to me. So that's what I've known. So they said, if there any thought comes through, definitely.
Yeah. So hang on then. Doesn't that mean that you might end up paying a higher price even though you raised the value?
That's true. Yes, the valuation comes in a bit, but down the line in 5 years, whatever I've done, I've made my money out. So the value is I'm making more money out. Like most of my properties, almost all of them, the return on investment is within 6 months. So that's where the negotiation skill comes into picture. So I kind of negotiated very, very low. If it doesn't fit my my numbers, I don't take it generally. I try and avoid properties if the landlord doesn't see my value.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where, calculation. You know that you're going to have 3 years or 5 years
Yeah.
in the contract, and you need to make sure that it's going to be profitable over that time.
Yeah, over that time.
Because there's no guarantee that it will continue after that. Although
exactly, because the renovations, whatever I do, I calculate based on within 6 months I should make that one back, because even though there are so many things needed to be done in the property, but the landlord should also agree that there's going to be void, there's going to be maintenance issues. So most of them are happy with it. Of course, there would be some questions and answers needs to be done before the contract is signed. But once it is signed and once they see the after, everyone was been happy till now. They've never come around and been inside the houses, so they all are happy. They all actually send me their friends' properties, or they kind of to take on the other properties of them. So it's like sometimes with the portfolio landlords, you take one, then for me to take the other ones as well.
So how many do you have now?
I have 11 HMOs now.
Wow.
Yeah, the 11 HMOs, and I'm controlling 84 rooms.
84 rooms.
Yeah,
at £100 profit a month each, more or less.
Depend more than that.
More.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, the £100 is for the smaller ones, but because I have the smallest I have is a 6-bed, and the biggest I have is 11-bed. So I have 2 10-beds and 1 11-bed. So 1 10-bed all en suites, and then I have 1 10-bed, and then I have 1 11-bed, and then 2 8-beds, 2 7-beds, 2 6-beds.
So you are making a profit of like more than £8,000 a month.
Yeah, more than.
How does that compare to your old IT job?
It's a huge difference. I think 3 folds or 4 folds than what I was making. Profit wise, it's about 10 grand. Definitely is what I'm doing, because the bigger bigger ones have a bit of more negotiation as well. And then, of course, the bigger ones need a lot of work, and the bigger one needs a more difficult to tenant as well. So if it is 100% tenanted, then you have a really good margin on them. So it works out to be much higher than that. But it's really nice to be have my own time, to be honest. Of course, it is completely different to what I was doing in IT. IT is more of me attending meetings like this and explaining. Never had paints in my hands and cleanings and things in my hand. But it is completely. This one is in IT. I know it's 9 to 5. 5 o'clock I can close my laptop, and that's it. And then of course we do works on Saturdays and Sundays if it needs to, but I get all my Saturdays and Sundays free. I close my Friday and it's done. Every year I get to take 2-3 holidays, more than that. Entire my Christmas has always been in
this is now, or this is
when
you were doing
in IT?
No, before, when you did when you had a job.
When you had a job.
You could expect to have a certain number of holidays and have your weekends and evenings free.
Yeah.
So you're saying now it's a lot less work, but some of it is antisocial hours, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah.
When there's an emergency.
I put more time into my business. So I would say in that way, I kind of do it. It can be Saturday or Sunday or Monday or Tuesday. I don't even know the day sometimes. When I'm doing renovation works, when I'm doing stuff.
Right.
So it's like full on, sometimes 24/7. When I'm doing renovations and taking the property and then taking it to next level. But once everything is set up and done, then you go into a kind of a relaxation mode where you don't have things to do, kind of peaced out for some time. But as much as we think we are peaced out, but we don't want to stop the momentum. There's something always going in the mind, like, okay, what's next? So I'm more free now, but still more work now. I would put it.
I know what you mean. Yeah. So it's not like there's less of a grind, but more of a looking for opportunities and taking those opportunities.
More time to kind of have network with people. More time. The privilege of what I was doing in work and now is, if I have to go to meet my family or go back to any place, I can decide and go tomorrow. So I have the flexibility. I have everything to do that. But will I do that is the second question. But in my work.
So what if you visit India for a month and
I've been to India.
a tenant. Yeah. So when you do that, what happens if a tenant rings and says, "Oh, there's a leak and there's water
I have
destroying a house"?
that's where having a power team comes into picture. So I have
Right.
a local handyman. I have local people here in the town, so they take care of everything for me. Even right now, I don't go. Even right now, there are works happening in 2 to 3 HMOs. The leaks are being fixed, but it's just that having the power team to kind of, they should be ready to work for you even on the off hours. So
Yeah.
they should understand your business. That's where having a handyman. You can have a handyman, you pay him, if he comes and does the job, that's just a normal handyman. Yes. But you have to find someone who understands your business and then takes time out to go even during the off hours and then do it. So my handyman sometimes goes at night 8 o'clock and fix things. He works on Saturdays and Sundays at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, anytime. Not, of course, not after 11 o'clock at night or something. But he sometimes goes early 7 o'clock. He starts at early 7 o'clock, finishes off my things. Then he goes to some other place. And then after 7 o'clock night, he comes and works. So there is no defined.
Does everything go through you? If there's a problem, do the tenants ring you, or do you have a virtual assistant or something like that can
I
deal with
just
it?
couple of weeks, like last month, I've hired someone for me because I was busy in expansion and then busy in doing up things, and so that right now I hired someone. But before that, everything was going through me. I have a system for all the tenants where they report the issues there. They can see the tenancies and everything is managed in the system. So it makes my life much easier. But since we were kind of having almost 20 tenants moving in the last 1 month, so I had to hire someone. So I was planning it earlier. So I've hired someone now. So that person is kind of taking care of all my admin works. If any issues comes up, she kind of checks, does the viewings as well for me, messaging the tenants, and only the maintenance things comes to me, which I take care of it. Because sometimes, even though the tenant raises it as an issue, it might not be an issue actually. So these tenants, sometimes them being like, oh, it's not an issue. Oh, my screw is gone. It just needs a screwdriver to screw it. So you don't want your handyman to just go there and screw just things and then charge you 30 quid for it. So generally, I go around to see if it's really an issue. Sometimes, but not always. Of course, if I'm not in town, I don't do that. But I just go around. If I'm in town, go around, see if it's really an issue, and then ask my handyman to go and fix it. And then I'll just send him a picture or a video or send him the house address with the location, room number, and then he will go and fix it. So we have lock boxes in all the HMOs for contractors to access. So he knows the code for it and my cleaners knows the code for it. So both of them access all the communal areas and then they keep the key back. So
that's interesting.
In that way, I don't have to be. I've been in holidays. I've been like in last year, I went on 3 months of holidays, not continuously 3 months, 3 different months. But yeah, mostly during Christmas, it's silent and not everyone is around. They go on holidays as well. But yeah, I've been traveling around a lot. Like mostly I go to India. So whenever I go there, things still happen, but it gets fixed.
Yeah. So yeah, your time is more your own now than it was when you were employed.
Yeah.
So what's the future then? What do you've got 80? Was it 84 rooms now?
84, and I have one essay.
Oh, you got an essay as well. Service accommodation.
Yeah, that's the new one I took on a couple of weeks before. It's from my same landlord. The landlord just wants me to take on. I said, okay, it was a HMO, which was like not a HMO kind of thing. It's a 2 sharing apartment kind of thing. So it was like, okay, you take it, Sam. I said, fine, okay, let me try SA in it. So it's just an.
Oh, right. So it wasn't that you wanted to try SA. It's that the landlord wanted you to take this property on off his hands.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, it's too small to be an HMO, so I'll try it as a service accommodation instead.
Yeah. It was in town center. I kind of course, I negotiated that as well. But I said I will try and do it, do something with it and see how it goes. So yeah, it is good.
Yeah. So are you looking to take on more? You mentioned that you are trying to negotiate lease options so that you can buy some of the properties that you have. Are you looking to maybe buy something to start with? What's
Yes,
your future plans?
idea is to the couple of ventures which of course I'm planning. One of the thing is like as much as I love HMOs in this West Midlands wherever I am, it's kind of quite expensive for me to go and buy and do. Whenever it comes to buying, it kinds of a completely new thing for me, which I don't know yet is what I think so, but as much as I know the theories of it, I haven't done it. So I would like to slowly get into a BRR, do it for myself, understand it, and then learn. Of course, I wanted to start working with people as well, which I've not done before. Want to work with others who have done.
You mean as like a joint ventures or
joint venture or any other sort of finding new BRR leads or trying to find them or people who are doing BRRs, kind of work with them, understand those type of things, and also expand this business because I know this business is working good, which I've done a lot in this town. So now I'm planning to go into the towns which are closer by and then try and replicate this and then get into management of HMOs for other landlords as well, because I've got the system, I've got the people. It's just that managing it for them, whichever is in the other town. So I just wanted to try which is closer to me first, explore it, learn from it, and then go and expand that business. But from a BRR perspective, yes, definitely. Lease option is I wanted to take as it comes. But with BRRs, I definitely want to do something, get my hands on it. I'm just waiting to do it.
So for anyone watching who doesn't know, BRR stands for buy, refurbish, rent, refinance.
Yeah.
This is a bit more like a flip, like what? But it's different because with a flip, you're looking to sell it as quickly as possible once you've raised the value. With a BRR, you're looking to rent it out, but refinance it to get that value out. So it's a much better strategy really, because you don't sell the property, you still own it. So a lot of the value is the long-term capital appreciation. But there's also tax advantages because you have to pay, if you raise the value a lot and then sell it, you have to pay capital gains tax and things like that. So so BRR is what I do myself mostly.
So BRR is something which I want to get into. I thought I would be able to do this year, but I focused more on expanding the business drastically, and then because I just wanted to do what works for me. This is working for me. I just wanted to exhaust this option up until the point where I just don't want to do any more in the town. But of course, I might end up taking a couple more.
Would you do BRR to HMO? Because
it depends. It depends on the property. Again, BRR to SA is also something fine for me because the reason for me to take SA is to understand that market. Theoretically, I know everything, all of the SA serviced accommodation side of things, but I've not done it hands-on. So that's why I wanted to do one as well. Whenever the opportunity came, I said, okay, fine, let me try out. It's a very small property, but trust me, 2-bed SA is difficult than a 6-bed HMO. I would, yeah. To be honest, that HMOs is much more passive, is what I think.
You're right. Yeah. Because you've got guests coming in and out much more frequently.
Exactly. Yeah, and the
cleaner. Probably need to renovate
moving parts to I said that's why I kind of didn't want to do it. Whenever I started as well, I always stick to HMOs. I never wanted to do SA because one of the reasons I stayed in HMOs as well, and I knew the demand in town and I knew the quality which is available. So I wanted to increase the quality and then provide it to professionals. So that's been my strategy here. So it worked out for me. But whenever someone comes and stays in my HMOs, whenever I ask them, most of them were staying in Airbnbs or some other place before they can get a stay in my HMO. So that's one of the reasons as well. I took one so that they can stay in mine before they can find place in my own HMO. So it's like a win-win for me.
So if you find a dream tenant, then you can put them in your essay to start with while you find something.
Yeah.
Maybe that
Yeah,
can work.
most of them, because most of the tenants are young professionals who coming to the UK to work. So they would need a place somewhere to stay before they can move into HMO.
Yeah.
Potentially, my one, sometimes I move them.
And you know exactly what that's like, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's where you were 4 years ago.
Yeah. So I just give them my essay, just the plan of giving them my essay, and then showing them the whatever I have, if I have any availability at that time, and then if they like it, they can take it. If not, they can find somewhere else as well. Yeah.
So you said that 4 years ago you didn't really know anything about property. The way property works in India is very different to how it is here.
Mm-hmm.
You learned a lot from YouTube videos and podcasts and things you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But we met through the Samuel Leeds Academy.
Of course.
So tell us a little bit more about that. How did you discover Samuel Leeds, and what made you decide to invest in yourself with the academy? And
100%,
tell us
because
about that.
of course, when Samuel is really good in YouTube. So when I said I'm started learning about YouTube, so that's where I came across Samuel, and I was seeing a lot of his videos, and then I attended one of his £1 events in Birmingham. So I didn't straight away sign up because I wasn't, it was not like for me to go and directly give out something. But I attended a couple of £1 courses just to understand if that's the right thing for me to do. But I tried so much doing it myself, but I always needed someone to support me and have me questions to be answered and stuff. So that's why when I went to the £1 event, then I signed up for the HMO course. So
right.
At that point in time, I went to the 4-day HMO course. I learned a lot about it, networked with a lot of people, met a lot of nice people, and then I signed up to the academy as well, because when I was there 4 days, I knew that uh, getting yourself knowledge, the cost of mistake would be more. Me coming from a different country, I don't want to make mistake in this country. As much as if I'm in my country, I can do, even if something goes wrong, I have someone to back me up or do something about it, work around it. But me being in a different country, I don't want something to go bad or to do everything properly. So I want someone to guide me, like, this is the first step, second step, do this, this is the right way to do it. Not because the cost of mistake is much higher here. So I ended up signing up to the academy so that I can have a mentor who can tell me this is what should be done or should not be done. So the first thing I wanted to know is how not to do.
Because there's a lot more ways not to do it than there are to do it. So and like you said, the cost of mistakes can be a lot more than the cost of education. So
I just wanted to be, because when I wanted to learn about something, I would want to go to the roots of it and learn. So I ended up signing up to the course, signing up to the academy, and then have kind of been immensely, people have helped me, be hustling, and then people like that who have always been helped me, like Samuel's mom as well, everyone who have been always been helpful around me. So it's been a really good journey, to be honest, looking back 2 years, and now knowing them all more as well, being crewing at the events, and then me giving back to them now. It feels surreal, to be honest. 2 years from where I started and to where I am now, in giving back to people and then giving back, and so it's been a really good journey.
Yeah. And you mentioned that it started with the £1 crash course. I'm going to leave a link in the description or the show notes where you can see when the next or people watching can see when the next £1 crash course is, and if you're interested in going, it's well worth. I mean, it's only £1.
Of course, that's the best place to start. Like, just be there, and then learn about it,
and see for yourself. See for yourself what
and then
it's about.
Hear people's success, and then if that's something you want to do, why not invest in your education?
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us more about what you actually get on the academy and the things that the things that, because you get so much that you can't
Yes,
you can't absorb everything that is made available to you. You know, there's stuff every day.
that's true.
Then
That's
there's
true.
online. There's the local inner circles. There's all the online courses.
Yeah.
So what's been most helpful for you?
Because to be honest, from the time when I started 2 years before, we didn't have this many things which is available right now. Kind of, I would say, academy kind of exploded into a different level. Now we have
Oh,
so
really?
many things available for everyone. Earlier, I don't want to speak about earlier, but I can say to anyone who's listening, like we have so many things in the academy. Like we have mentorship, like we can book the call, speak to any mentor anytime during the day, or you can just book yourself. So that's one of the really valuable thing, like because you have different mentors for different strategy,
Yeah.
so you can book and speak to them specifically. So that's one of the most effective ones, because everyone, whomever is starting from the beginning, I had so many questions and I wanted them to be answered by someone. So that's first thing which you want, someone to answer something to you. And then when you get a chance to speak to people, then, and again, that's one thing. And then is the network of people, which is like you've been in WhatsApp groups, then you have all our inner groups as well. So that's again instant response to your messages. Whatever you think you might have not come across, there is someone in the group who have already done it or already faced it. So that's one of the things. And then the third thing is the inner circles, where now it is inner circles. Earlier we didn't have that.
I didn't realize when I joined in February and went to the Bristol Inner Circle the next week, and I just thought, oh, these have been going for years, because there was about 30, 40 people there. I didn't realize that was only the second time that they'd actually done it.
Yeah, it was.
So but beforehand, there must have been some sort of informal version. People must have just met up locally and they thought, let's make this an actual thing.
We had, because we every time the dinners are the only time where we met physically, which is once in every month. Of course, that is still happening. Once in a month we meet in London. There's a dinner first week of the month, and then we had the Monday Mastermind. So again, Monday Masterminds is every week already. But now it is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So you have masterminds now every single day. So that is completely different to us, because earlier we had only one day of.
And then there's, I think there's more than 20 inner circles now. So as well as the dinner, you get 20 opportunities to network physically.
Exactly. All across the UK, you have physically. Now you can network with them.
Although it's not possible to do all of them, because some of them are on the same days. But
that's good.
But I've been to, I think I've done 5 in a month, as well as the dinner.
Oh, really? Oh, amazing.
That's been my record. I'm trying to go to as many as I can. I've been to the ones from Newcastle to Bournemouth. So right up and down the country.
I try and keep it locally within me.
Yeah, well, I've got property in the northeast, so that's why I went to Newcastle. And where I live, near Oxford, there's not actually anything super close.
Yeah.
But within like an hour and a half, there's quite a lot, because there's the Birmingham ones, there's Bristol, there's Bournemouth, there's Northampton. Now there's a new one in High Wycombe.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is actually going to be the closest one to me. So I'm hoping to go there.
Actually, it's the community, I would say. As much as I'm more seeing faces back and forth, like you get to interact with people, you get to know quite a lot of people. You have, I would say, there's people from so many experiences and backgrounds who come and kind of have a catch up. So that's kind of immense value to anyone who's kind of want to be in property. That's the best place to be.
Yeah, it's so good just for motivation as well, because you just sit down with those people who understand the way you think and think the same way, and you just need to spend an hour or so with people like that, and then you're the next day you're fired up again.
Yeah, that's one of the things which I go and do the events. We go and do the crewing as well. Of course, we do. I crew a couple of events whenever I'm free. I try and go and crew, because just being back in that environment helps you to learn and also to help others as well. Someone would have a very basic question. They might think, oh, is it something which I can ask a mentor? But they can ask us because we were just growing at the back. So they kind of relate to us at the back. So it kind of makes it easier for them to ask us some questions. We'll try and answer them and then share our journey. And in that way, it puts us in a good place of thinking of helping others as well. So yeah, it's all about giving back to people.
Yeah, I need to sign up to do some crewing.
Yeah, definitely you should.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so weird because for me the most valuable thing is the face-to-face networking events, the inner circles and the dinners, especially the inner circles. The dinners is almost a bit exhausting. There's almost too many people. I mean, I love them and I'm never missing one. But
yeah, so sometimes we miss people.
It's more fun than I think the inner circles are better networking. But the dinners are more fun as well as being very good for networking and things. But and obviously then there's also we just recently had the awards ceremony, which was amazing. There's so much. We can't get into all of it. So as I was saying, if you're interested in any of that, it only costs £1 to get a little bit of a taster of it. There's a link in the description. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on, Samuel. Before you go, can you give me 2 people that you think would make a good guest? In fact, I asked this question to 𝐘𝐿𝐴, and he mentioned you. I think we'd already actually talked about you coming on. So but can you give me 2 people that you think I should have on the show that I might not know of?
Sukhpal or Sohail? I'm not sure. Sukh, have you?
I'm talking to Sukh. Yeah. Talking to Sukh.
𝐸𝐵 and Haslin would be a good.
Who?
𝐸𝐵 and Haslin.
Okay, yeah. So those are they're mentors, right?
Yeah, they're mentors. But
I'm just writing that
down. They had I think similar journey as well. So they'd be a really good addition to this one. And 100%.
Great. Okay, I will. I'll clip this and tag them in it on Instagram.
100%. Oh, that's good. That's good. Thank you so much for having me, Colin. It's been a pleasure speaking to you and then sharing my thoughts as well. So thank you.
No problem. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, where can they find you?
My Instagram, �Samuel_Johnson_property. So that's my Instagram, and you guys can reach me, message me, and happy to connect and happy to answer any questions as well.
Great. Okay, Samuel, thank you very much for coming on the show. And if you're watching, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if you are still watching, thank you for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed the show. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up and leave us a comment. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you're subscribed on whatever platform you're on. Leave us a review as well. All that stuff really helps. But the main thing is, head on over to our website, self-unemployed.co.uk, and there you'll be able to enter your email address. And once you've done that, you'll get invited to join us when we are recording future episodes. They're going to go out as live streams on YouTube, but not to the public, only to people who are on that mailing list. So if you do that, you'll be able to interact with us, ask questions as we're recording future episodes. So if you're looking to grow your wealth and become self-unemployed, let's do it together. I'll see you next time.